So right here we have a photo that I took right from Brooklyn, of the Brooklyn Bridge and Lower Manhattan with a Fujifilm GFX100S, and this is a 100 megapixel camera, so the detail on this thing is insane. And as you can see in the upper right hand side under the info section, 207.69 megabyte files. So these files are massive. I took this one at ISO 100. I was using the 110 killer lens for Fuji, and I have this one at a half a second. Now, I handheld this. So this will just show you how impressive the in-camera stabilization is on this camera. All right, let's get into this. So the first thing I do normally when I'm editing a photo, I just kind of take a look at it and say, okay, what's bothering me? And the first thing that I see that bothers me is just how it's off from a straightening standpoint. So I go down to geometry. The first thing I'm looking to do is I just choose auto. I want it to be straight. I want it to be vertical. I don't want it to be distracting. So for me, before I even get started on the edit, this is my place I go to. From there, I just kind of work my way up on the edit panel. Sometimes I go with a preset, but for this exercise, I'm going to start fresh, and I'm going to create kind of my own style of this photo, and then kind of save the edit as a preset for future. So first and foremost, dark photo. Had to expose it this way to get the sky. I mean, it was an incredible sunset. So first thing I'll do, I don't want to overexpose the sky. I'm just going to bump those shadows up. And you can see immediately we start to bring out some of the detail in the photo here. I like how with a half-second exposure, we got this little movement here on that boat. I think that's pretty cool. I'll zoom in here in a second just so you can see how insane the image quality is on this camera. It literally blew my mind. All right, let's see. So on the next thing I go to typically is I'll go into the slider here, the point curve, and I really focus on where the spikes are. That's where the majority of the pixel density is, from all the way over here on the left hand side to the blacks, and then all the way over here on the right hand side to the whites. So you can kind of see as you play on this side on the black section, if I lift this up, it's gonna fade that black a little bit, and that looks kind of cool. But for this one, I kind of like how crisp this is, so I'm going to keep that where it is. And I'm going to go for a slight S curve here, just to bump some stuff up, and I'll maybe bring these down just a little bit. Now it's still really dark, so I'm going to go up here and kind of just increase the exposure just to see how much detail I can pull in, and then I can do a mask over the sky. So let's see, I'll bring it right there, and then immediately I'll go in here and I'll do a sky mask, and I'll drop the exposure on the sky kind of back to where it initially was. So again, now we're putting this together, and it's looking pretty good. On the contrast, contrast really kind of gives it that darker definition of this on the sky edit. But the contrast will just kind of give it a little bit more definition and separation between the lights and the darks. So I'll just kind of bump that up. That's kind of cool. I'll move it up to about 25, 26. Highlights, let's bring those down and see how it brings out those oranges and those pinks. Oh, that's just killer. And notice we haven't even touched saturation, and the color coming out of Fuji is just ridiculous. All right, let's, I feel like I like the sky like that. I'm gonna leave it like that. It's not overdone. And we'll go back to the initial photo. So on the whites, the best tip I can give you on this one is as you're doing the slider on a Mac, hold the Option key. As you slide it to the right, if you have not a filter on the whites there, if I move this to the right with my whites all the way up, you'll see the areas of the photo that are overexposed. So for me, having a little bit of an overexposure on the bridge, you know, to kind of keep everything a little bit brighter for me is cool. So I'm gonna bump this up to about 35 on the whites. I think that looks good. Now on the blacks, this is purely preference. Do you want, you know, to kind of darken the photo or overly brighten the photo? I think for me, you know, I think for this one, because it's a dark photo, I'm gonna bump it up to about 20. Again, personal preference. There are no rules to editing. What looks good to you and what you want to do is really the most important thing. All right, let's go to the color slider. This photo has insane color, so I'm not gonna do a lot with the color because Fuji's color science is out of this world. But I am just gonna, you know, play around a little bit with the temperature here and just kind of see if I warm it up or cool it down. I think for me, because the blues are so deep, I kind of want to bump the warmth up just a little bit. I'll probably leave it there, and then on the blues, I'm gonna bring those down just a little bit, just to kind of keep with that steel look. I like that. And then we'll kind of, the luminance on these, we'll kind of see at the, if you look at the World Trade, One World Trade Center, you can see how the luminance affects the blues. I'm gonna keep luminance exactly where it was because I like this. This is shaping up to be good. I'm not gonna mess with the sky too much. I'm gonna go over to the pinks just to see if I can, you know, get a little bit more. You start to see just nastiness up there. I can't do that, so I'll just bring it up by 15. And then I always like to look at the luminance because it does change the photo a lot. On this one, I think we'll leave that one alone. And then the hue, how do we move that around? But you can see the majority of this is going to be in that purple and red area. Let's see. We'll just play with that just a little bit. And this is almost looking, I mean, it's looking very pink. So we'll play around with that a little bit more. All right. I use the color grading quite a bit. On a photo like this, I might bring those midtones, you know, kind of like right there just to give it that steel look. I think that just looks incredible. On the shadows, you can see how that kind of affects the photo. I don't really like to do that on a photo that's dark like this because it really messes with the photo. And then you can see the highlights. You know, it's kind of nice, the highlights, when you bring them down here. It kind of shows, I mean, all the bright colors, the whites, the brights. It really kind of brings that out. I kind of like, we'll just do a little bit there. I think I like that. All right, and then I'll go down to the texture. On this one, the clarity is just insane. There's really no reason to go much further than what it is, but this is it. I'm gonna show you the resolution on this camera now and just show you how insane this is. Let's start with the bridge and just see if we can see anybody walking up there. Let's see. Oh, no, not right there. Alright, I must be too low and not able to see. But, I mean, we're looking in apartments at this point. That's pretty freaky. So, that's 100% zoomed in. And then, when you back it out, whoa. Yeah, that's pretty nuts. Wow. This camera is insane. All right. Going back to the edit. I'm not gonna mess too much with clarity. You know, when I did punch in there, I did notice that there was just a tad bit of noise. I'm okay with that on this photo. The grain's fine. What I will do sometimes is just kind of see what the clarity would look like. And again, that almost looks too sharp. It's fake. So I'm gonna leave that where it is. I do like to sharpen it a little bit, just, you know, as I have experience, as you export this and you put this on web, you want it just a little bit sharper. Not going to do anything on the luminance. It really needs no smoothing. So that's we're getting really close to the end on this edit here. I'm going to play just a little bit with the cameras. Fuji's got all kinds of cool presets in here, so we can just kind of browse through. They got a bunch that are film, cinema, let's see, classic, negative. And I do this after the edit, mainly because I want to apply these filters or these profiles to a finished project, because I like the way it looked. I just want to see if there's a different finish to it. And the classic chrome on Fuji is just ridiculous. I think that's cool. I really like the cinema as well. But if I'm being honest, the Provia is nice. I like the Provia. That's pretty good. I'm going to choose the Provia standard. And then I'm going to go back to my photo because it does look a little too saturated for me. So I'm going to go down here and let's see if we can just take some of these oranges down just a little bit and some of these reds just a little. That wasn't much, but it makes me feel better. All right, let's lift some of these shadows up here. All right, this is the edit. So if we go back and see where we started, dark photo, can't really tell what's going on. The sky is beautiful, perfectly exposed sky. And then once we're done, here's the edit. So now that I'm looking at this, I want to go back and I want to properly expose that sky and kind of bring this down a little bit. This needs a little love. Let's see. You know, let's add some of that saturation back in. All right. To me, that's better. What if we dehaze it just to kind of, let's see, it's kind of nice. Well, you don't have to do much on this. All right, so this one will be the edit. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Typically just do a JPEG large, something like this. It'll still be a 100 something megabyte file. So hope you enjoyed the edit. Come check me out next time.